think it's close enough, gave enough time. We could go ahead and get started. So thanks everyone for showing up. This is our first virtual open house. So please bear with us. I think everyone would love to actually be meeting in person. It makes it a lot easier to ask questions and work through it rather than utilizing technology sometimes. But because of that, we do have some etiquette, I guess you'd say, of how we need to kind of work and function so everything kind of gets through and people get to ask their questions. The first thing that you'll notice is basically microphones and video will be turned off until we get to the question portion. The reason for this is it starts becoming a little bit of a distraction. Not only that, inadvertently there could be, dogs barking, whatever. And so it comes down to being able to hear the presenters and such. When we reach to a question portion, please use the raise your hand function to signal you'd like to speak. So we'll be watching for the raised hands and we'll call on you. For those that haven't been in Zoom before, you should see it on the lower bar. It's basically just a picture of a hand that you could press on. If we miss you and we may overlook the fact that you have a question or you think of a question at another time, by all means, you can always send that to us. But when you're asking a question, please give your full name and address. Another thing too is I know a lot of times at our open houses, it's really nice from the standpoint you could ask many different questions from everything that's going on in the county. For the benefit of everyone that's at the open house tonight, we're restricting it down to the Knowles Road Improvement Project. If other people have questions about other things that Public Works doing, what else is happening in the county, we're always open for any sort of questions on that. And you can reach out to our contact list that's going to be at the end of this presentation. If you do have a specific question pertaining only to your property, that will require a one-on-one time with our designer. We will schedule an appointment after this meeting and Lawrence will be more than happy to actually speak with you more on your particular property. We are recording this, and so once we get this done, will be posted to the project website next week. And we also hope to stick to 1 hour tonight, and we'll kind of go from there. So from a meeting format standpoint, we'll start with the introductions. My name is Eric Pearson. I'm the Chelan County Engineer. The designer on the project is Lawrence Dillon. You'll hear from him shortly. Paula Cox is our Assistant County Engineer. We do have two commissioners listening in tonight. Commissioner Garion, which is the County Commissioner District 3, and Commissioner Bugart with County Commissioner District 2. From Chelan County PUD for the Waterline replacement, Courtney Hill, the project manager, will be on tonight to speak, as well as for the City of Wenatchee Sanitary. Jeremy Hoover with the senior engineer will be discussing their improvements as well. So with that, we'll go into the project overview, which is the roadway utilities, a little bit more in depth. Then there'll be times at the end, like what I said, as far as a question and answer sort of period. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lawrence.
All right, thanks, Eric. So like Eric said, my name's Lawrence Dillon. I'm the designer for this project. I know I've spoke to some of you guys individually, who's being impacted by the project. It's my first virtual open house too, so please have patience with me. I won't get a huge group today, but we'll kind of go through the major design elements and kind of start with the background here. So just a brief overview, the Knowles Road Improvement Project is an important project for the Sunnyslope area. A lot of you know, living there, that it's definitely grown a lot, and it's projected to grow almost double in size over the next 20 years. The current roadway doesn't sufficiently meet or serve the developing area. It's a narrow roadway and not a lot of pedestrian facilities. So this project is going to be the first of 2 phases, and we'll go over that in more detail. But it's focusing on improving safety, mobility, and access for pedestrians. Also, with the project, we'll improve some of the drainage issues. So just a brief overview from the construction standpoint. It was awarded almost $1.4 million in grant funding from the Transportation Improvement Board Urban Arterial Program, and it's also supplemented with some local county funds and stormwater funds. The first phase will be from School Street, working up north on Knowles Road to American Fruit, and it includes some intersection improvements. And the second phase, which is not funded currently, would take off from that ending point at American Fruit and go further north. There's kind of an aerial overview of the existing facility right now. So the dashed blue line are existing sidewalks, and Knowles Road runs north-south. So on this phase 1 project, there's about 2,200 feet. Like I said, from School Street to American Fruit. And then the next phase will continue up and tie into that hairpin turn up by Sunnyslope Meadows, just past Lily Lane. And for the sidewalk facilities, shown in light blue, would be constructed on the west side of the road. And once this project's done, with conjunction with the second one, we'll have connectivity all the way down to Sunnyslope School. So some key design components, kind of start with the pedestrian and road widening. So most of you are familiar with the roadway, kind of the existing conditions. There's definitely some design challenges here with the topography, utilities, and it's a narrow roadway. So we got basically 2 11-foot lanes. And the proposal will be 11-foot lanes, 5-foot shoulders. And those shoulders will be a multi-use for safety and for bike access. And the sidewalk would be constructed on the west side. Some portions require gabions, and then we'll add the infrastructure for all the stormwater to catch the road, or the runoff on the road. Also included will be the intersection improvements. So this is American Fruit Road looking eastbound. You kind of see the existing grade profile here. This is stopped at the stop sign looking north and southbound. You can see some of the intersection sight distance deficiencies here. And this is kind of a overview. The top picture here is a plan view showing the existing road, and then the darker gray shows where we're widening. And then this darker gray here kind of shows where the sidewalk would be. And then below that is the profile of the roadway. So American Fruit would probably raise it almost 3 feet, and that would bring that intersection elevation higher for better sight distance. And the widening of the radius would improve mobility for larger vehicles. I mentioned the stormwater conveyance. So this is kind of an overview of the existing basin. That's almost 800 acres This is kind of zoomed in more project specific, but this dark blue line delineates kind of the natural drainway. So with the project at the south side, we're looking at constructing a detention pond. So this pond would treat all the road runoff, and it's also fits the topography for the area. And the pond was sized to address not only the roadway design, but also kind of a global view of the kind of that flood zone area. And it's all sized accordingly. So we looked at all the existing features, integrate that with our proposed features that would tie into this pond at the bottom. So this circle up here kind of shows in the next phase, once we have the infrastructure built on the bottom, we can tie in that upper piece and connect it to that pond. Just rough dimensions of the pond, it's about 12 feet deep, and it's sized for, like I said, the 800-acre basin. Another facet of the project will be a retaining wall. So given the steeper fill slopes and cut slopes with that wider road, we're proposing almost 800 linear feet of a gravity type retaining wall. Similar to the one pictured here, it's basically a wire basket filled with some coarse stone. The height would be 4 to 8 feet for the project, and we'd have our sidewalk facility constructed on top of that with pedestrian railing. So kind of where we're at with the project now currently is we're about 75% through the design to kind of understand what the area is we're working in and what the corridor for the roadway is going to look like. We're looking to go out to advertisement for bid this winter, with construction that would follow in the spring or summer of 2022. And with the construction, it should take about 10 weeks from start to finish. Before we get to that point, you guys might see some utilities being relocated and some preliminary work being done prior to that. I think there's 2 or 3 transmission poles that need to be relocated. So during construction, it'll be mostly a 1-lane road with flaggers, kind of our typical traffic control scenario. And then we're considering a detour for some of the larger impacts for construction, like trench work, and we start digging the road up. Some of the benefits with a detour would speed up the work, which results in a minimized impact to the traveling public. As we get further into the design and identify those impacts, we can have another open house and kind of discuss those in more detail. And we tentatively have something scheduled for the spring of 2022. And at that time, we should know the contractor's schedule and kind of address those more specifically to the project. A couple other improvements that we're going to be doing in conjunction with the project would be the PUD water main is getting replaced, and the city's looking at installing a new sewer main. I'm going to hand that off and unmute. Courtney for this portion, and then we'll go into the city's sewer and have Jeremy kind of explain those improvements.
Thanks, Lawrence. My name is Courtney Hill, and I'm a project manager at Chelan PUD, and I'm here to discuss the water line portion of the project. we have approximately 1,400 feet of existing 4-inch still water main that we're planning to replace with approximately 2,200 feet of new 8-inch ductile iron main. And the timing of this project is really well suited. The still main water main that we have existing is at the end of its useful life. The new 8-inch main will increase capacity and reliability of the water system in the area. Along with the water main, we'll be installing 4 new fire hydrants and replacing some of the existing customer connections there. The project will require some water outages when we connect in to the existing water infrastructure at both ends of the projects. And we'll also have some customer outages on the individual services. And we'll be notifying customers in the area that are affected 24 to 48 hours in advance. So should have plenty of notice on that. The slide that we have here in front of you is just kind of a depiction of the proposed and the existing and proposed main. The new main will be located on the same side of the road as the existing. That is on the east side of Knowles Road. So that's kind of a basic overview of the water portion of the project.
Courtney. Transition over to the city's portion.
So my name is Jeremy Hoover. I'm the senior utility engineer with the city. I'm here with Jessica Shaw. She's our deputy public works director, and Ashish Leva, who's the design engineer on the project. The city's scope on this is going to be to install a new 10-inch main in Knowles Road. We are basically going to be about 10 to 20 feet deep, depending on where you're talking about. And we're planning on providing service to any of the existing developed properties that want to connect. We will be leaving them stubs that they can utilize if and when they want to get off of their septic system and leach field. We'll also make it available to the existing platted properties that have not developed so that they don't have to install a leach field. The idea from our standpoint is to drain the entire area that is identified in the city's sewer comprehensive plan up to the north and west of Knowles Road via this corridor. The sewer main is being put in with the county project so that we can do this with as little disruption to the traveling public as possible. The scope of the project that the county is involved in is only Knowles Road itself. The city does need to put in some additional pipe further to the south in Knowles Road, or I'm sorry, in School Street from Knowles Road south to Easy in order to make the system complete and actually drain properly. We are going to leave connections. There's a subdivision that's planned for the southwest corner of Knowles Road and American Fruit. We're planning on allowing them to connect to this sewer system through one of two possible scenarios. One is either a direct connection to Knowles Road, or the second is the option that you see with a pipe that comes down through Majestic View. That is currently an alternative that we're pursuing. Majestic View being a private driveway or a private roadway. We need to get permission from the owners, and we want to look into that a little bit more depth. That may or may not be the most feasible alternative. If not, that will be deferred until some point in the future. But construction of the Knowles Road sewer is definitely going to be included with this project. There are connection fees associated with hooking up to the city sewer. There are several components to the fees, and they also depend on when you're planning on hooking up. Connection to the city sewer system is not mandatory. The requirement for abandoning septic systems and leach fields is determined by the health district, and you are allowed via the RCW to maintain and repair your septic system and leach field to the extent necessary. Redevelopment of a property, that does change things if you are going to subdivide or add a new house or something of that nature. The city is not involved in the determination of whether or not you may or may not install a leach field or repair the existing one. That's done through the health district. But if you do decide to hook up to the city sewer system, there is a fee structure in place depending on whether you're a single family residence, multifamily, various types of scenarios as to when you connect. It's based on your water meter size. There's a host of parameters that we can discuss with anyone who is interested specifically, but a very basic table is provided here. It's a little difficult to navigate if you don't know what you're looking at, but there are incentives to hook up at an earlier date. If you are connecting to the system within 2 years of it becoming available, we give you a 30% discount on some of the charges associated with connection. And if you are interested in doing so, anyone here at the city can answer your questions or at least get you to the correct person to be able to answer your questions about those requirements and those costs.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. So we're moving into the question section. So just a reminder, there's that little icon down below that's kind of a hand. That's if you wish to ask a question, go ahead and push the hand, and then we'll try to answer them then when we are able to actually acknowledge that. Now, when we let you open to actually ask the question, please state your name and also your address, please. Do we have any questions?
I don't see any questions, Eric.
Okay. Like I said before, there's going to be some additional options. You didn't need to actually, if you think of a question later on, or if you want to actually get some additional information to figure something out, by all means, we have project information. You go to our website. There's an actual link that you can make your way down to the Knowles Road section, and it talks further on in the project. We have email updates. We have a listserv that's on the Chelan County Public Works. That one you could actually sign up not only for this project, but any other options for information from Public Works site as well. And finally, of course, how I stated before, general questions by email, you can go to publicworks@co.chelan.wa.us, or you could email directly to Lawrence for project or property specific questions on Knowles Road. And obviously you could always call their office at 667-6415. Thank you very much.
Hold on just a second. Eric, there's Rob that says that the question hand is not visible.
Oh,
I'm asking if.
does he have a question?
I'm gonna ask him to unmute here and we'll see.
Yes, can you hear me yet?
We can hear you.
Oh, wonderful, good. My name is Rob Rowe, R-O-E. I live at 425 West Rolling Hills. My question is, what's the relationship of this project to the new project, that very, very large project that's being implemented on the corner of Easy Street and School Street? The new apartment complex is going to bring in about 1,000 people and 600 or more cars a day. What's the relationship of this Knowles Road upgrade to that project, and was that factored in when the design of this project was done?
So the project you talk about in particular is actually a private development project. So just to give you a rundown of how that kind of works is the property owner will go through his own analysis and so forth, go through the SEPA process, submit what we required as a traffic impact study. And so they've gone through that process. Within the traffic impact study, you take into account the existing background volumes of the roadway coming down. And then they also look at it from the projection of how much volume they're going to add. Currently, right now, what's occurring is we received their initial submittal on the traffic impact study. We have reviewed it, responded to them for some additional corrections, things for them to take into consideration, and that they're going back and doing some re-review on it and going to be resubmitting it to us for further review coming up. In terms of the relationship between this project and that one, this project's upstream, and so therefore I suppose it'd be utilizing that intersection. Is that answering your question?
Well, sort of. I'm assuming that the other project is just so major and will have such a huge impact on the community that I was assuming that the traffic study associated with the Knowles Road upgrade would have also taken into account the huge volume of traffic in the general area that will be increased.
So Knowles Road's up above. It's really comes down to the individual traffic impact studies that the project is coming in. And I suppose I should have actually brought up the fact that we do actually have a project on our 6-year plan to intersection improvements right there at School and Easy Street intersection. And so when we're talking with the developer and they're doing their traffic impact study, the main one of the main reasons why we have them do that is to analyze what sort of impacts they may have and then proposals to mitigate those impacts, albeit changes to the intersection for them coming and paying their proportionate share for an improvement project and the like. And that's what we're kind of going through right now.
I don't want to interrupt, Eric, but the Knowles Road, the roadway itself, what we're building out is a standard to be upgraded for what that function is. So it's supposed to meet the needs of the road user. And as far as the timing too, this project's going to happen quite a bit earlier than the intersection project would. They're two separate projects, but this one's going to probably happen a few years prior to anything on the intersection.
I'm a little confused because the only information the county's released that or maybe they didn't release it, but the only information I've been able to find that the county has got is an environmental checklist, and it references a traffic study, which is not available from the traffic engineer that's assigned to the project because the traffic study isn't done. But bottom line to that is it references a construction start date of the project on Easy Street and School Street of March 1st of this year. So
Right.
When you say it's going to be a couple of years from now, I'm a little confused.
Can you let me share screen now, Lawrence? And given we have time, I'll dive into it a little bit further.
Yeah, and I apologize if I don't mean to be bringing up something that doesn't fit into this meeting, and if it doesn't, oh, please stop. But
I should be able to just kind of talk about it real quick because it's correct as far as they're not done with the study yet. But this is where Lawrence was talking, where Knowles Road is. And this is the project we're talking about tonight.
Are you? You haven't seen anything. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, here, let me try to grab a different. Can you see the hand now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where that project is. It goes from American Fruit down to School.
Right.
The two projects you're talking about, the development projects, the private ones, are in this quadrant and this quadrant.
Yes.
Where I was talking about our 6-year plan for the intersection improvement is actually this intersection right here. And so that one we don't have fully funded yet, or with the design and everything as far along as Knowles Road is. But this is the one that actually we're taking into consideration and talking with them as far as how will they mitigate their own traffic. And there's other intersections as well. When you start getting into a traffic impact analysis, it's a projection of where all the traffic's coming in, all compared to what that base volume is. And that's even including taking into account the DOT's planned roundabout down here at US2.
Yes, and of course, the impact to Peters Street onto Easy Street and adding all of those additional cars. I'm assuming that you mentioned another development that is proposed along Knowles Road that will probably also add cars. So it's already difficult at School and Easy Street to enter, and make a left-hand turn, because it's a 40-mile-an-hour road and the volume is large. It's kind of a dangerous intersection anyway. But also the option is down at Peters Street and Easy Street, and try to come down Birch Mountain, get on Peters Street, and then take a left onto Easy Street to get into Wenatchee. That also is very difficult. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because it's the community is going to be hugely impacted, and there's been almost no communication with the community regarding this big development and the impact on that intersection that you just mentioned that's 6 years away.
Yeah, well, and part of this is without having the traffic impact analysis done, and there's some things in the original one that they brought up, we had to have them go back and look at some of the existing volumes. We can't get a for sure look as far as what the impacts are. We're also having them look at other intersections like Peters and Easy.
Good.
For them to actually review that. They're also looking at Omi Garden, Melody Lane. So it's more of it's not just, we tend to zero in on School and Easy Street just because of the location of their project, but you look at it from the entire network as well.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you guys are. Yeah, it's just been so quiet from the county and the community engagement that it's hard to know what's coming.
Yeah, we received this information, or at least their I guess, lack of a better term, initial final traffic impact study. Basically, the one they turned into us was only about a week or so ago.
Oh, yeah.
So we are aware probably something was going to be coming, talk through some initial things, but until the impacts that came to us, it's tough for us to actually fully analyze what the impacts are going to be.
So it's probably too soon for you to know the additional traffic flow along Knowles then, and up through Rolling Hills and up over the top and down Birch Mountain and all that stuff. You probably don't know any of that yet.
Well, when we're looking at and we're digressing, before we jump further, and I apologize for doing this to you, but does anyone else have particular questions on Knowles first?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mark Lombard, 3411 School Street. I just had a question. You're talking about the sewer coming down through Knowles Road there and then continue down School Street, and about people hooking up to that. So I'm on School Street. Will I have access to that sewer line? I'm right at the intersection of Knowles and School.
So this is Jeremy Hoover again.
Hey, Jerry.
The answer is most likely yes. I need to see exactly which property yours is. If the sewer is in front of your property, we will definitely be able to serve you. Can we zoom into that particular area so that I can see exactly which property is his to answer his question correctly?
I'm just right at the intersection of Knowles and School. Right. So that'd be the warehouse, which is on the lower portion of that picture. And then of course that rental, there's two houses there also that are right there that I own. So I was just kind of curious if you're going to be putting the sewer in there, if in my location would be accessible to that sewer. So.
Okay, I'm still trying to figure out exactly, you said warehouse, so on the corner, are you on the south? Let's see, there's the church right there. Okay, it's that property there?
Yeah.
So you're basically on this, okay. We can leave you a connection point. Typically, we leave services that are for developed properties where the property wants to be served. So we can definitely accommodate you on that. Your service will be somewhere between the center line of Knowles Road and School Street down to, call that your southwest property corner. We can leave you a 4-inch stub or a 6-inch stub, whichever would be appropriate for your building, depending on how many bathrooms you have, how many water fixtures you have. But we can accommodate you, and I would be more than willing to speak with you in person or on the phone to discuss exactly what you need so we can get it incorporated. The Knowles Road project is not specifically building that segment of sewer. The city's going to do that through a separate contract because the scope of the county's Knowles Road project only extends to that intersection. They're not going to specifically be rebuilding School Street. We will be doing some work in there in order to make the Knowles Road sewer work. And providing a stub to you, we can easily include that as part of the project, and it makes sense.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, the property north.
Is it okay? So let me just get clarification. The street, is that more? What's the name of that street? Morningside. What's that?
Moonglade.
I'm sorry.
Moonglade.
Moonglade. Okay, so are you on the north side of Moonglade or are you on the south side of Moonglade?
Both.
Okay, we can serve the property that's on the south side of Moonglade. The north side, we're not going to have a sewer in there yet.
Okay, perfect. So I need to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we jump back to, and I haven't forgot about you, Rob, as far as your other question, but is there anybody else that has questions on the Knowles Road project?
Yeah, this is Jeff McCurvin, 3560 Knowles. While we're talking sewer, if we did not elect to hook onto it, are there any other charges for landowners that would be fronting that sewer line install?
So the costs for sewer connections are assessed at the time that sewer service is requested. So if you are not requesting service, we're not going to be charging you anything for it. If you decide to hook up 5 years from now, then the costs that you pay at that point are going to be based on whatever ordinances or policies are in effect at that point. But there aren't any frontage fees per se that you would be seeing on a title report or anything of that nature. You would just pay the fees for your service when you're ready to hook up to the sewer.
Okay. And just a follow-up question on the Knowles Road there. How would we obtain just a site diagram for our portion of land that's going to be impacted by this property?
Lawrence?
Yeah, so we've kind of assessed all the impacts and those will be coming out in the mailer. It's nice to have the open house first to kind of show what the overall project's going to be. And we have those basically ready to send out here shortly. So I'd expect next week to see in the mail. And then any questions on those, yeah, feel free to contact us. We can work through those impacts and kind of how the design ties into the existing right of way.
Okay. And last question on the retention pond there, is that planned to be a fenced pond? And do you anticipate it to be holding water year round or only during flood events?
So it's a detention pond. It's going to treat the water in that first basin, and any overflow would actually go into the existing pipe network. So it's going to be major storm events. It's designed for, I think, 25-year storms. And as far as the fencing portion of it, I'm not sure if you want to address that one. I'm not sure as far as the county policy on that, or?
I think this is a dry pond, right, Lawrence?
Yeah,
Yeah, so what this is intended to do is it's only during the heavy events when you'd actually see any water in the bottom of it. So does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, sure does. And so fencing sounds like not likely then?
It's not typical we do necessarily, as long as it's not a perceived issue, I guess you would say, because many times the fencing may actually cause a bigger issue.
Okay.
and in addition, we'll have sidewalk, curb and gutter kind of as a boundary, almost like a buffer from the lane of travel, so.
Okay, thanks.
And the pond will be sized to have maintenance go in there and kind of clean it out as needed. So have access points to it, kind of a roadway around it. Just kind of get in there and maintain it as needed.
Caden?
Hi, yeah, this is Caden Stockwell. I live on 3795 Knowles Road, just a little bit above American Fruit Road. I just wanted to ask about the snow removal and who's responsible for doing that during the winter time with the sidewalks. Is that the property owner or?
At this time, it's not actually codified that it's requirement of the property owner.
Are you on the east or west side?
I'm on the east side.
Okay, the
That project will be later on phase 2, but I was just curious about the snow removal. That's
so at this point, the sidewalk's planned for the west side of the road, and the existing alignment's gonna have to tie into the new proposed alignment. So
okay.
kind of all preliminarily built out. But like I said, it's not funded yet, so we're not pursuing it with the full out design yet. But
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? At least just on Knowles Road. Okay. So did I cut someone off? So Rob, when you're asking about as far as the traffic impact study, how it coming over Knowles Road, coming over American Fruit, it doesn't, what you're doing with the traffic impact study is looking at your baseline. So it does not take into account anticipated redistribution of the network of where everyone else is going to drive, because what you're trying to do with that is to mitigate any sort of impacts at the current intersection by the added flow of additional traffic. And so that's the reason why you don't actually redistribute all of that. And so what it's going to be is a comparison on where your typical routes are. So if someone already comes up and around, comes down Knowles and comes down School, it's already being captured as School Street traffic in the analysis.
Oh, okay. Okay. And does the study and that you're working on compensate for the effects of COVID and the economy kind of being shut down? I don't know how you do that, but
that's the one thing that we kind of had to talk to him about, is you have to actually take older data and grow it, because you can't use this last year based off of the COVID impacts, the school closures and everything else.
yeah, there's been such an explosion of, and I contributed to it because we built 3 years ago. But there's such an explosion of new construction and houses, and that particular intersection seems to be the one that's the primary focus of a lot of the development that's going on, either coming down Easy Street, coming towards Wenatchee down Easy Street, or coming from, you know, the Meadowbrook development or the other developments that have gone in up Knowles. So anyway, it just, I hope you understand, it's a little bit of a concern because there's been so little sharing by the county with the developer and the impact on the community. So I got a little bit gun shy.
No, I got you.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Or you probably don't know.
As far as how well, part of it is it's the developer going through the SEPA process. So they go and they'll share, because it is their private project. And so they go through the SEPA process to gain comments and everything else like that. We're in the more of the review phase on public works side to review the traffic impact analysis to ensure that as far as if they're adding to it according to GMA, that they're mitigating any sort of impact caused by the traffic.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than say us going out to build a project per se, since it is coming from the private side.
I understand, but it's kind of a murky deal there.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not meant to be. The project that we have in the works here, that's going to be one that's going to, and it's some sort of intersection control. And so that's what we're kind of analyzing.
yeah. Well, I appreciate the county having our back there. That's great. That'll be very helpful. I hope that communication is a little bit more forthcoming in the future. Maybe it will be. I hope so. I hope the city council or the county council will share with the community what the plans are and allow the community to comment. So we have an opportunity to make this a positive thing for everyone. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Let me talk. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Does anyone else have anything to say? As I'm sitting here in the dark because the automatic lights turned off on me. Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone sticking in and enjoying it, or hope you enjoyed our presentation. It's our first Zoom open house. And hopefully the next one we will be in person. Like we said before, you could always still ask questions, still submit them. If questions come up later, by all means, give us a ring or send us an email.